I think Pac, by most people, is viewed as the greatest rapper of all time because he had a futuristic pen about himself. His pen sometimes wrote the future, and it told a story of what it's going to be as opposed to what it is. And now it's prophesied. You're starting to see it and you're starting to hear it. And it makes him seem like one of the greatest philosophers of the world because his pen told you this years ago. He wrote what's happening nowadays. He's seen it. So it puts him on a level of a spirit or a god when you're able to profess and manifest that through your pen. Like he wrote his death before his death happened. He shot the video for I Ain't Mad At You a week before he got killed. Like, why would you do a video about you getting killed and then a week later you get killed? Why would you write songs about, you know, dear mama and being a loving son to your mama and all of these things kick into play now?
Yeah, and there's a bullet coming at him on his last album cover, you know, the Machiavelli album and everything.
He knew it. He worked like a fucking racehorse. Like, the way I work now, I ain't half as what he is. Like, here Usain Bolt, I'm like Carl Lewis. But this motherfucker, and I swear to God, this how this nigga used to work. We be in the studio, he'll make a song, and be like 30 niggas in here. He'll make a song, he'll let him get on the song, him get on the song, him get on the song. As soon as the song go off, he won't even listen to it. Put that shit over there, pull the next beat up. He get on to the next beat. They writing some more shit. Boom, they finish that song, then he say, I'm gonna do one by myself. 20 minutes later, he and that motherfucker spitting it. This 3 songs this nigga done did in an hour. 3 songs, he ain't listened to none one of them. Then he may go smoke and chill or whatever, drink, come back, pull another beat up. When he and this motherfucker making music. Everybody in here making music. And that's what we didn't have on Death Row Records. We was so used to. Dr. Dre told us, when we gonna be in the studio, he got one beat playing, and we gonna write to this one beat. All day till we make a hit record. This motherfucker Tupac. And but then when we do a song with Dre, if we finish with it, we listen to that motherfucker all day. Everybody come in and we play that motherfucker. They put it in the car, we listen to it. Take it to the house, we listen to it. And then we come back and do a song maybe a week later. But see, the Tupac thing was, so it's like, to me, why the fuck was he working so fast and so hard and trying to finish all these records up?
He knew.
He had to know.
He had to hurry.
You inducted Tupac into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame,
yes,
am I correct? He was a great artist and a good-looking dude, too, right?
Fly.
This guy really got a ton of pussy, right? I mean, he really did.
Can I fuck you up real quick?
Please.
One time before he was on Death Row Records, when he was just my homeboy, after we had met at the Poetic Justice rap party, I was in New York, and I was doing Saturday Night Live, and he was out here, and he was like, what's up, my nigga, where you at? I'm like, I'm at Saturday Night Live. I'm like, I ain't got no dope. That's when it was hard getting weed over here, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I'm like, cuz I ain't got no dope, cuz. He was like, don't worry about a motherfucking thing, nigga. I'm coming to Saturday Night Live. I'll be there in a minute. So he pulls up, but guess who he pulls up with?
Who?
Like a Virgin.
No kidding. Oh, that's right.
Madonna.
She told us, too.
For the very first time.
Yeah, Madonna.
He shows up with Madonna, man.
Yeah.
And he comes in. He's got a big bag of that Do It fluid. He tells her, have a seat. She looks at me. I look at her. I say, oh, wow. That's Madonna. Back to you, Pac. But yeah, let me get that dope about you. He said, yeah, me and we finna ride out of here. You understand me? Showing me that he was elevated in the game.
Wow. He brought Madonna to Saturday Night Live.
Man, please, man, to bring me some Disno. She was just riding along for the ride.
And think about it, bringing you Disno, as you say, taking him away from fucking Madonna.
Yeah.
What a man.
That's a real brother. Say that.
I don't know that I would do that for anybody. I'd stay home and fuck Madonna. I'm not bringing you weed.
You gotta find your own weed.
Yeah, no offense. Wow, isn't that?
And I seen that with my own 2 eyes, and I've never spoke on it. Like
Right.
I've been holding on to this shit for a long time.
Well, quite frankly, Madonna was on the show and she talked about Tupac
she
in the
said
most.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, she didn't talk about that
In the
trip,
most
but
she didn't talk about
it.
being back at the Saturday Night Live, but she
Right.
talked about Tupac and the whole deal. I mean,
He dicked her down.
he sure did.
I seen it in her eyes.
When you saw it in her eyes, when she was in love.
Obviously, you and Tupac, and you were on that's probably one of the biggest rap albums of all time. Was Tupac album, the one that when he immediately came out of Clinton Correctional Institute, and you were on it with him. What was it like to work with Tupac, and then how was those battles? Because he was it back in the early 90s, mid 90s. He was it. So I know that's like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning in their prime going at it.
Right, but remember this. I want him with me.
Okay.
That's the first key.
Right.
So, and while he in correctional facilities, we need to get Cub with us. He need to be with us.
Right.
I need him with me.
Right.
Don't have a team, and that boy bad. He just out there just by himself.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Bring him over here to the franchise where he can flourish. And he also gonna make me better because ain't nobody here challenging me like he gonna challenge me. He got a different energy.
Right.
They already content with me being the dog.
Right.
He ain't gonna come here and be content with that. He gonna come in and make the dog get on his toes. And he showed me a few things, and I showed him a few things, but it was more about the chemistry of having somebody that was on your level. Not that everybody on the team wasn't on my level, but I outgrew them. I never shared this story before, but it really speaks to our journey. I had just beaten my case, and Suge had taken us to South America to get away from all of the drama, and me and Pac was parasailing. You heard right. Snoop Dogg and Tupac parasailing together with Suge Knight driving the boat. Now, you got to remember, I had just beat my case and Pac had just got out on bail, so we would have tried anything at this point. Does anybody know what parasailing is? Because we damn sure didn't. Me and Pac was sitting on the edge of the boat with all this gear and shit on. Then all of a sudden, the boat pulls away and we start floating up in the air. We scared as a motherfucker, damn near holding hands. And Suge ass kept dropping the lever and slamming us into the water like boom. I don't know what was in there. It could have been sharks, octopuses, or whatever. And I'm like, man, quit playing. It was crazy because not only did we think we were on top of the world at that time, we actually were on top of the world. Floating around in the sky. Then all of a sudden, Pac would start telling me about some movie idea he had about me being the main star. He was saying some shit I wasn't paying attention because I was like, we too high in the sky. We need to get down. I mean, the shit he was saying to me in that moment was different, though. He seen me as an actor. He saw more potential in me than I saw in myself. And it's funny because after he passed away, I started getting a lot of movie roles. And I always felt that Pac was looking out for his nigga, even after he was gone.
What Pac's relationship was like, because as you touched on earlier, you guys are kind of on two different paths when you guys really, really started rocking.
Nah, see, when we really started rocking was before Death Row. That's how he got to Death Row. We really started rocking when, and Michael Rappaport was there when I fucking met him at the Poetic Justice rap party.
Michael Rappaport, that's my dog.
Yeah, Ricky Harris was the fucking, like, MC or the host that night. And I grew up with Ricky Harris. That's like my cousin. Yeah.
Rest in peace.
So
Rest in peace.
when I get to the party, Ricky Harris is there, John Singleton, Janet Jackson, all of the stars and shit is there. And they got like a DJ booth and they got like a microphone. So Ricky Harris grabbed the mic and he know I get down. So he like, yeah, I got my cousin Snoop Rock in the house and whoop, whoop, whoop. And then Pac is right here. So then when Ricky finished saying what he's saying, nigga Pac grabbed the mic and started rapping. I'm like, nigga, that was my intro. And so when he finished saying his little line, I grabbed the mic and I started rapping. Then he grabbed the mic and started, this is one mic, nigga. This is when nigga only had one mic. So nigga had to wait patiently and kindly and then grab it with aggression after a nigga finished. Nigga said, So then now we rapping and rapping. So we both go about like 4 or 5 times. Then we stop. And then my nigga Laylaw from Above the Law was there. And he walked us outside. And he was like, Snoop, did you meet my nigga Pac? I'm like, nah, what's up? Shook the nigga hand. Nigga rolled a blunt. I'm like, nigga, what's that? He like, nigga, it's a blunt. The nigga rolled a blunt. Licked that motherfucker and lit it. Smoked that motherfucker. I'm like, let me get your number, cuz. I'm gonna holler at you. Got his number. Maybe like a month later, I finally called him. And I'm like, what's happening? What's up with you? He like, I'm at the house. I'm frying some shrimp. Nigga, come by. He was in Encino. The nigga had a house full of niggas. He was frying shrimp. Nigga had flour and shit in his hands. It was the first time I go fuck with him. And the nigga like, you ever seen my movie? I'm like, nah, nigga, you was in a movie? He's like, yeah, nigga, I got a movie called Juice, nigga. I'm like, let me see it, cuz. And nigga gave me a big-ass laser disc. That's when laser disc was out, nigga. This motherfucker was about this big, nigga. It was square. He gave me that motherfucker. I took it to the house, and DOC had a laser disc player, too. Put that motherfucker in, nigga, watched Juice, and fell in love with that nigga. I was like, cuz, this nigga hard. Me and all the homies.
When was the last time you saw Pac? This is my last back in the day question until we talk again. When last time you saw him, and where was you the day he was shot in Vegas?
Wow, the last time I saw him, he was laying in the bed, holding on to his last breath. Man. Well, I had seen him before that because we left New York. We had just left New York. I had got off the radio station with Angie Martinez, and that's when me and him like clashed because she asked me on the air, how do you feel about Puffy and Biggie? And I said what I felt. They're my homeboys. I love them. When I got back to the hotel, it was a whole nother atmosphere. Like, he sent his homeboy up to get the bud from me as opposed to him coming to get it. Mutai came and got the bud. Pac wants some bud. Hold on. Tell him to come up here. He ain't coming up here. Give me the bud. I'm going to take it to him. So I felt funny. And then my uncle said something about, they downstairs talking and blah, blah, blah. So when we got on the plane to go back to L.A. the next day, Suge didn't let none of my security ride with me. I had to ride on the plane with him, his homies, and Pac. And it was the most uncomfortable ride I ever had in my life because my nigga didn't say nothing to me the whole ride. And that's a 5-hour flight on a private plane.
Yeah.
So I walk up to him like maybe 3 hours into the flight, sit next to him, I'm like, you going to Vegas, cuz? And he turned on me like this and started talking to somebody else. So I'm like, all right. So I go in the back, put the blanket on my head, knife in my hand, fork in my hand, and just sleep the rest of the ride. Because I feel like they finna try to do something to me. So when I get off the plane, we land. He walk out. I got a Rolls Royce. He got a Rolls Royce. He walked down the steps. I walk down the steps. We meet right here. I'm like, cuz, you going to Vegas? He do me like this. Went his way and he went my way. Next time I get a call, niggas like, turn on the news, cuz. I'm at Warren G house. We turn on the news, we see yellow tape, Suge, BMW. Call Suge, he like, yeah, they whoop-de-whoop, come on out here now. Drive out there. I see him in the bed, laid up, no words, no conversation. I see Jesse Jackson, his mama. His mama pulled me to the side. She make me feel like a real player, because she tell me, my baby loved you, and I love you. And I don't care. She just hit me with what I needed to hear, coming from my mother. Because she was strong at that time. Everybody else was crying and breaking down. She was real strong. And she just held me real tight, and she just said a prayer with me. And I know I went there, I hollered at him for about 20 minutes, and I went in the bathroom. I fainted. I threw up. I just was like, I was gone. Like because me and my homie wasn't straight. You understand what I'm saying? It's like, I'm not even going to be able to apologize to him, or even just to tell him, I feel you, I'm wrong or whatever. We never got that day, and that's the way it ended with me and him, to where he passed away, and I never got a chance to, apologize or even just tell him, what is it? How can we fix this? Tupac Amaru Shakur, the human being. 21 years ago in Las Vegas, Tupac Shakur was taken from all of us. He was only 25 years old, too. Damn near the same age as my oldest son. When I sat down to gather my thoughts about my label mate, my homie, and my brother, there's one thought that kept coming back to me. Tupac, the actual human being. And while many remember him now as some kind of thugged out superhero, Tupac knew he was only human. And he represented through his music like no one before. It's a fact that he never shied away from. He wore it like a badge of honor. With an unapologetic rawness, Pac embraced those contradictions that prove we ain't just a character out of someone else's storybook. To be human is to be many things at once. Strong and vulnerable, hard-headed and intellectual, courageous and afraid, loving and vengeful, revolutionary and, oh yeah, don't get it fucked up, gangster.
Okay, because you were there when Tupac and Snoop first met.
Yup.
Where was this?
I was there when Tupac and Snoop Dogg met. It was the rap party for Poetic Justice, which I had a blink part in. You have to watch it quick, even if you knew it was coming. Like it's shot in silhouette, and I was already friends with Singleton, and Singleton said to me, "You know, there's nothing really funny." I said, "I want something in it." He's like, there was such a thing around Tupac and with Janet Jackson and John after Boys in the Hood. I just wanted to be a part of the film. And we had met, we had mutual respect. I'd only done Zebrahead and I think True Romance. He's like, there's this one little thing, it's a cameo. I was like, bet. He said, it's you and Tupac, dope. I was so impressed with Tupac as a rapper. And then when I saw him in Juice as an actor, and the crazy thing about Tupac is because me and Jada Pinkett were friends. We had the same agent.
Oh, okay.
Before she had gotten apart, before I had gotten apart, she kept telling my friend Tupac, I was like, Tupac? What kind of fucking name is that? She was like, Tupac, he's going to be a rapper, he's going to be an actor. And I'm like, an actor and a rapper? Because at the time, it was like, get the fuck out of here. She was like, I'm telling you, he's crazy talented, he's my friend, he got to stay out of trouble. If he could just, this is 89, 90.
Yeah.
91. And I remember seeing that video. She showed me the VHS tape that inevitably was in that Tupac documentary, the really good one that got nominated for the Oscar, which I can't remember the name for, of her and him in a karaoke booth singing Parents Just Don't Understand.
Okay, yeah. I know what you're talking about.
It was, and she's like, this is my friend, this fucking guy, too, like, you know. And then, you know, I heard him on Digital Underground and then like saw Juice. But when I saw him in Juice, I was like, this motherfucker is talented.
Yeah.
As an actor. Like, I just thought that performance was like, to me, it was like De Niro in Mean Streets. I was like, this fucking guy is dope. Like, I'd already heard him rhyme and I was like, he's a good rhymer, he's dope. But when I saw him in Juice, I was like, this guy's special. So I wanted to be in Poetic Justice. So he gave me that little part. I went to the rap party for Poetic Justice. Everybody was there. Janet Jackson, Joe Torre, Regina King, who I was a huge fan of. John was there. And it was this little spot off of La Brea, like down near Crenshaw. And Snoop was there. He had just come out with Deep Cover. And, you know, he had his jean shit on and he had his hat on. And I was like, yo, I'm a big fan. What's up? He recognized me. He was like, what's up? You know, he was all shy. And I was like, yo, he was like, you know about my shit in New York? And I was like, hell, he said, I'd never been to New York. And I was like, yo, we fuck with you, man. I was like, yo, we fuck with you hard. And he was like, thanks. You know, he's real kind of low key. And, you know, we pound, whatever. And then 5 minutes later, it was like a little party. Not even like a big premiere. It was like a little sort of, like a bar with a little dance floor. Like, it wasn't no big premiere party or a big rap party. And a couple of minutes later, I mean, this is 20-some years ago, but a couple of minutes later, Tupac was there. I had already met. And I literally saw with my own eyes, they greeting each other, and then they were like rhyming on the mic, freestyling. And Tupac was like, I don't remember what the rhyme said, but I remember him saying, you know, all your homies staring at me like you want something at me. And then Snoop, and it wasn't like beef, but they were like bad, like they were kind of feeling each other. Tupac was with his little crew, Snoop was with his crew, and I was right there. But I remember being like, this is something not to forget. And then they like dapped each other up after this like little battle. Like, you know, they're just rhyming on the mic, but you could feel like a little sort of like, you know, putting their shit down. And then it turns out that was the same night that Snoop Dogg smoked his first blunt, which should be a national holiday, and that Tupac rolled for him. Like they obviously became friends, but I watched it with my own eyes. And there's a picture that night with me, Tupac, John Singleton, and Ice Cube. And I remember they were taking a picture, and then I like kind of like squeezed my way into it because I just knew it was a special special thing to be a part of that night. It was just, there was so much energy around Tupac and excitement around Tupac and this edge around him. You could feel it. And just something, yeah, I'm on the right. I never forgot it. I remember when the picture got taken, and this is before digital, but like, you see, I'm on the right of them. Like they're to the right of me. They were taking the picture and I kind of slid into the picture. That's why I'm up front of it, because I wanted to be in the picture, you know? It was cool. It was cool when I remember it. And, you know, and I saw Tupac a couple more times before he passed. And, you know, I mean, as a fan, you look back at that time, he was so special and he was so prolific and he was so outspoken and so ahead of his time and so representative of all the positive things about hip hop. And unfortunately, he died of the most negative thing about hip hop.
Yeah.
It was crazy, you know, like it was like, because he was so everything that the goodness of hip hop and the politicalness of hip hop and the swag of hip hop and everything dope about hip hop, but then inevitably that negativity would fuck them up.
Tupac? Yeah. Tupac was in a weird way he was like a Roman general. You know, I don't know if I should say it, but yeah, I should say it. I say it because
Sure you can.
He took himself real serious. You know what I mean? He had like a great deal of self-respect and dignity.
Right.
And a lot of people, especially at the time, they couldn't understand that.
Yeah.
You know, they can't conceive of that. That's almost threatening. That's almost like challenging someone.
Right.
You know?
You have to self-respect.
And I don't know if he noticed that.
Yeah.
You know, he was just an amazing guy.
Right on.
Just ahead of his time, and that's why he's not with us no more. He was just ahead of his time.
I know that it was your fight that night that Tupac got shot at in Las Vegas. Can you just talk about the relationship you had with Tupac, how that came about, and just how you felt about the whole ordeal?
All right, listen, I'm going to tell you, this is the first time I ever met Tupac. Magic Johnson was having a party at the Palladium here on Sunset.
Yeah.
And I came out, and some friends of mine were blocking the door. They was holding the party, blocked the door. And it was a young kid. And I said, hey, man, what's up, shorty? It wasn't Tupac, though. And I think it was Shark G. And I said, I told my friend, man, come on, man, let this guy in. And he said, come on in, shorty. And the guy said, oh, excuse me? And he went back and he brought like 200 guys with him. Ooh. So we had to bring him around the back, and Tupac was one of those guys. And so I come in, and Tupac's on the mic. These guys done bullied the place, took the mic, and Tupac's rocking on the mic. And the whole place is going crazy. They're loving it, right? And then I met him. We were talking, just a young, shy kid. And I went to prison, and he wrote me a letter. Then he came and saw me. Then he explained to me who he was. I said, I remember you. You know? And probably was a year before that. And then I remember, and that's how we became friends. He kept coming, talking. We talked on phones, and we cultivated our relationship.
And being best friends, I think one of the most iconic friendship was the one between you and Tupac. What was your last memory with Pac?
And Pac came to your fight.
Yes.
Oh, shit.
Mm-hmm. You got tissue? Yeah.
He was really happy after the fight.
Mm-hmm.
He came to the press conference with me, and then we were just talking a bunch of shit. And then I went home, and then he left.
Mm-hmm. Where were you at, Mike, when you found out? Because I know exactly where.
I was home sleeping.
And somebody called you? And at the time, he was shot. Did you go down and get a chance to see Pac at the hospital? They wouldn't let me see him. There's an iconic picture and just video of where you still got your gloves on, and there's the hug, there's the embrace, you know, and just sitting here and, you know, knowing Pac then and knowing you now, there had to be a mutual respect, because even this many years on, removed, you still have an emotion for that man. What did Pac mean to Mike Tyson?
Man, it was just, it's very difficult to talk about. It was just a young kid that really wanted to be great.
How did you feel when you heard the bad news about Tupac?
I felt that was really something I couldn't even I just knew that it was really a bad day when that happened. I just knew it was really bad. And I felt a little guilty about him coming to the fight, me pressuring him for the hey, yo, bring the tape, don't forget the tape, you know. And I was going to go out with him that night. I promised to go to 662 with him that night, but I had just had a little baby, and her mother was provoking me to stay home, so I stayed with the baby. And then someone called me that night and told me that happened, and this is just what we do. You know, I come to my senses, I come to my objectivity, and I know who I am. I know what my element's about. In my world, this is what happens in my world. This is what happens in my world. That was part of my world. My world, this happens. But just because it was Tupac and I was attached to it, it was different. But normally, this is what I expect somebody to die after a fight or somebody get hurt, something crazy happened. But when it happened to him, it was different.
Speaking of Pac, man, can you give us a Pac story? Do you have one of those?
You know, Pac was real cool. He was wild on tour.
Yeah, was he?
He stay up all night, you know what I mean, partying. You know,
drinking, smoking straight West Coast.
Having fun. You know, Pac used to have fun, like, you know, everywhere, up and down the halls, just in the lobby, everywhere. And, you know, one day I was asleep. It was like 4 a.m. I was like, man, my night over.
Right.
Pac come knocking on my door. Boom, boom, boom. Q, what you doing? What you doing? He hitting lights and everything. Nah, man, you can't go to sleep. You can't go to sleep, man. We still partying, man. Come on, get dressed. Got me dressed. We out. I'm out in Pac room. You know, it's going down. And I just remembered him just being a dude that loved to have fun and always had a smile on his face, always had a story. And, you know, I miss Pac. I miss him.
Yeah, man. That's insane. Always had a cigarette for you if you wanted it.
Pac was the man. He was cool. You know, just one of those cool dudes. I know people know his persona.
Sure, yeah.
He was, you know, just one of those cool dudes, you know.
Yeah, but was there a Pac that people didn't know?
Yeah, you know, Pac, you know, he was real. You know what I mean? So if you touch the nerve, he'll let you know. And, you know, he was passionate. You know, so he'll let you know. But he also was, you know, I saw the humble part of Pac, you know, because you know, he loved what we was doing.
Right.
And he was in Digital Underground, and, you know, he was just doing that just to, you know, kind of, you know,
get started,
facilitate till he can get and do his own style. So, cause he told me one day, he said, man, when I start doing records, I'm gonna do the records y'all make. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna talk about the real, man, cause it's crazy where I live. So
fuck all this dancing.
Yeah, you know, so he had that in him where he wanted to release it, and to just see him grow as an artist to become, you know, damn near like the Marvin Gaye of hip hop, like, you know,
So
true. It's just an incredible journey to see.
What did you ever meet Pac at that time?
Yeah.
Okay, talk about that.
I mean, we was cool. You know, he was in Digital.
Yeah,
and he was the most energetic dude I knew. You know, at the time. You know, he was just full of fun, full of energy. You know, we were so young and happy just to be engulfed in hip hop.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because hip hop was an East Coast thing, and we felt like locals trying to, you know, just make a name for ourselves, trying to be heard. And at the time we were starting to get heard, you know, Digital Underground. And people don't know that our road manager was their manager.
Aton? What was his name?
Adrian?
Adrian?
Yeah.
Adrian was that was your manager.
Yeah, that was our manager at the time. And he became their man, he was our road manager. When we was on the road with NWA, and then he said, man, I got this group called Digital Underground. They're going to come out with a song. It's going to be dope. He says, one dude, he played 2 dudes. I'm like, what? Yeah, this dude named Shock G, but he really like got this alter ego named Humpty Hump.
Yeah.
So he's like, all right, Adrian. Okay, man. But then they song came out, Do What You Like. And it was a banger. And the video was just as good as the song.
Yeah.
Because the video, they was all in it. So, you know, that's when we first started going on the road and seeing Tupac on the road with Digital, and you know, he was dope. You know, he just had energy. He just had that personality. You know, just kind of that made you kind of gravitate towards him. And then, you know, he just started to develop himself as an artist. I remember one day he told me, he was like, man, this Digital stuff is cool, but I want to do, you know, when I do my record, it's going to be hard like y'all records. You know what I'm saying? So that to me was a sign that he wanted to break out and be able to talk about some of the things that he felt he couldn't talk about in Digital.
Wow.
So, you know, it's just he's just a cool dude, you know. Just one of them cool dudes you know. Who killed Tupac and Biggie? You know, I think both of these dudes were assassinated in some kind of way. More Biggie than Tupac. I think Tupac might got killed by a dude that they you know, had an incident with earlier that day, but
We met at Baltimore School of the Arts. It was the first day, and he came over to me and introduced himself. And in high school, Pac was a little funny looking. Definitely, from looking at him, wasn't necessarily like the type of cat that I would even like deal with, you know. But as soon as he approached me, he was like a magnet. It was like once you paid attention to him, he kind of sucked you in. And we hit it off from that moment on. He would tell me all the time, Jada, you're going to be a star. You know what I mean? I'm like, Pac, come on. He's like, you're going to be a star. You got it. You just got it. I don't think either one of us really thought that we would have made it in the way that we did. But we knew we were going to do something. He was one of my best friends. He was like a brother. And sorry. He was I mean, it was beyond friendship for us, you know, as far as just, it's really difficult to explain because the type of relationship we had, you only get that once in a lifetime, so he was like a brother, father figure to me. Very protective, and we took really good care of each other. We took really good care of each other, the best that we could. But we gave each other a lot.
I mean, one, let me start with Tupac. He was one of the most talented people I've worked with because, you know, the little time I spent working with him, he went in the studio, and usually people sit in the control room and write their lyrics and what have you to the tracks that I present. He went in the mic booth and put the headphones on. I let the track run down one time, instrumental. When I rewinded it, he said he was ready. He had his verse done. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, it was incredible, man. And Pac was the type of guy that you go in the studio and he'll complete 5 songs in one day. That's the reason for him having all the joints that he has right now. I mean, he has like another 4 albums, you know? And
You and Tupac Shakur,
yes,
you recorded some raps together in the studio. Is this right?
It is right and terrifying. It's a thing that we did because we were working together on a film. It's kind of terrifying. We did it. I was working on a film with I was acting with him.
Yeah.
Bless him. And
Gridlocks, right?
In Gridlocks.
Yes.
Yeah. So one day he said, "Let me show you my workplace where his deal was." And we went to Death Row Records.
Wow.
Which was hilarious because little pasty-faced London boy walking into Death Row Records was a bit, you know, bit sort of, well, people were just laughing at me. But
right.
plowed in, got it done, and he put us in front. It was me, I think, me and Tandy Newton, and then Tupac too, and then we all rapped together. But I couldn't keep a straight face. I was just absolutely.
Did you write?
I didn't write a thing. He just made me say stuff, and he.
What sort of stuff was it?
I don't know, but I know it's in a vault somewhere.
Well, you say it's in a vault.
Oh,
I'm kidding.
Wouldn't
I wish.
me, right?
We looked. Believe me, it is in a secure vault.
Well, of course, you were friends with Tupac, weren't you?
Well, I worked with him. But yeah, we were mates.
You did.
I loved him to bits.
You
He was
were
hilarious.
You visited him in the studio, didn't you? You went to the studio.
I did some rapping with him.
Did
yes.
you?
It's buried in the dungeon somewhere at Death Row Records, and
I would-
hopefully will never be seen.
I
again.
think I would kind of love to hear you bust out a rap.
It was the most embarrassing thing I've ever done.
Was he aware you were rapping, or had he left the room?
He was laughing his arse off from the sound booth. Yeah, he was doing his thing.
What did you rap, Tim?
I don't know. It's embarrassing.
Did you put your name in it? Were you bigging yourself? Was it, my name is
No, it
Tim
was
in the
supposed
place
to be-
Take a joke. From my best friend Tupac. Where's Big E?
I was dating Tupac Shakur at the time, and the thing is, he like got me all riled up about life in general. So when I went on this show, I was feeling very gangster.
I didn't know you dated Tupac
That was
Shakur.
a surprise.
That's never been out there, I don't think.
Using Tupac's film as well, isn't it?
Oh yeah, that's one of the best.
So why they
things that ever
why did I try to put that in the bio papers? Ben, step up your info game, Mike. Yeah.
So
Tell
when
them
did you
about
find out?
Outworld, Westworld, hit him up. Yeah, you all right, bro?
Yeah, no, really, it was Gridlocked. It's fantastic. Tim Roth.
Tim Roth, you know, he's a
Tupac.
Harold Savage as well, you know.
He is. We had
Ain't
the
they like
best
drug
time
addicts or
ever.
something like that?
Hey?
And they like drug addicts?
Yes,
Something like that,
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I play a heroin addict.
How was Tupac? How was he?
The loveliest person. He called me Lamb Chop.
Lamb chop.
Yeah.
I respect that.
Yeah. No, it was sweet.
Minted.
What was that like your nickname?
Yes. Hey, what
Yeah.
you to minted lamb chop is
He's lovely.
serious, you know.
Yeah.
He looked after his family. Like, I remember sitting in his trailer one day, and he kept taking his top off. I mean, I realise now, you know, because he wanted to show it all off, and I was like, "Are you hot?" And he's like, anyway.
Tupac, genius. Were you ever jealous of the love Jada had for Tupac?
Oh, fuck yeah.
I know you're gonna
Oh
say
my
no.
God, that dude. Let me, and you know, and that was in the early days.
Yeah.
That was in the early days, and it was like, that was a big regret for me too, because I could never open up to interact with Pac. You know, and because we had a little bit of a thing, right? Because they grew up together. And, they loved each other, but they never had that, they never had a sexual relationship, but they had come into that age where now that was a possibility. And then Jada was with me, so, Pac had a little thing on that. But she just loved him like he was the image of perfection, but she was with the Fresh Prince, so it was like, I never could, like, even we were in a room together a couple times. I couldn't speak to him, and, he wasn't going to speak to me if I wasn't going to speak to him.
Really?
But,
It seemed like y'all would have so much in common.
No, that's what Jada would say all the time. She was
Right.
like, I'm telling you, y'all are so similar. You will love him. And I just never, that was a huge regret of mine. I just I couldn't handle it. I was the soft rapper from Philly and he was Pac.
Right.
You
Well, at
know
least
what
they
I
didn't do a
mean?
diss song about you or nothing.
Yeah, I know,
That would've
right?
been awful.
Exactly. But yeah, no, I was deeply insecure, and just I wasn't man enough to handle that relationship.
The street. Can you give us some insight on what it was like, working with Tupac on Poetic Justice? Like, you got a story with Pac that you could share with us?
The anniversary's coming up with
Pac was crazy, and I adored him so. And he was one way, I think, the way people saw him, and not to say that that wasn't him, but he was also had another side to him where he was fun and silly, and he used to call me Square all the time.
He used to call you a square?
Square. What's up, Square? But he.
Because you weren't participating in
the foolishness.
The foolishness.
It's because I guess because I'm very quiet, and I would just sit back and watch and laugh. But there were times when he was late for the set.
And you were on time.
And we were
so you're on time and he's late.
And we were waiting patiently, and he's back at his hotel.
Probably with some Alizé. And
right.
Telling them that he said, the longer you knock, the longer I'm going to sit in this bed.
Wow. Wow. So he was a diva.
No, I wouldn't. Honestly, I think he's really special, or he was very special, incredibly talented, and definitely an icon. And I remember when he got
Thug Life.
Yeah, when we were doing Poetic Justice.
He got that tattooed during that movie?
Was it like on set or?
No.
Oh, okay, okay.
We had, it was over the weekend, and he said, hey, Square. And I said, yeah, and he went like this with his shirt. I said, when did you get that? He said, yeah, over the weekend.
So it was fresh.
Yeah.
Fresh. And he loved it, though. But for me, he wasn't a diva. And he's just so much talent and so brilliant here. Just so smart.
He was an incredible actor. I feel like he could have won an Oscar if had he not passed before his time.
Really
100%.
But he had all the visions, and he was ahead of his time, and he did so much in so little time. The man was only 25 years old.
Well, how long did you know Tupac before that video?
I knew Tupac, well, when he came with Strictly for My Niggas, or was it Tupac? I think it was Strictly for My Niggas. He shouted the click out. Shout out to E40 in the click, you know what I'm saying? The shit like that. And I was like, damn. Everybody like, man, you know Tupac shouted y'all out. I'm like, oh, dude, must know about it. That's cool. You know who actually gave me Pac's number was Double R, Richie Rich. Me and Double R go way back to the 80s. And so basically Double had seen, we was at June 16th or something like that, Juneteenth. It was in Davis or something like that. And then he said we chopped it up and whatnot. And he was like, I forgot to tell you, man, Tupac told me to give you his number. I said, Tupac did? Like that, right? He said, yeah. And he gave me his number. I said, good looking out. I said, wow. You know, that meant a lot to me for, Double didn't even have to do that. He could have been a hater and just like, I ain't finna get that nigga, you know what I'm saying? So that was my partner. So it was like, we wasn't on that page like that, you know what I'm saying? And he's still my partner. But Tupac, that's when I started getting close to Pac. I called him, as soon as I called him, he hit me right. He hit me, when I called him, he didn't know it was me. And I left a message or something, and then he hit me back. And he just, yo, 40, it's Tupac. Ever since then, we didn't stop talking, man.
Okay, and that's kind of where the relationship started to develop from there.
Yeah, like 90, like late 92 probably, like 92, about 92, somewhere around there. So Tupac, he had a court date in I think he had a court date in Marin City out here in the Bay Area, and so I told him, he said, I'm gonna be out there, I'm gonna come to the video. It was either the court date, he had something to do, because a couple of times he came to Solano Avenue, and all his Richmond partners came there, and that's in Millersville. They came to the studio, and he had something to do that day. So anytime he was out here, he would hit me. So he'd say, man, I'm gonna be out there, so I'm gonna shoot. I think we might have scheduled this video for Practice Looking Hard around the time that he said he was coming. That man really showed up, brother, and hung out with us all day. And apartment complexes and everything, like, solid.
40, I know you had a really good relationship with him. He's one of my favorite people of all time. Talk to us about your time with Pac and what he meant to you.
Man, Pac, man, good times. Every time we hook up, it's like little kids. Like, how you grew up, how you see a friend, one of your best friends you ain't seen in hella years. It's just like that. And we can see each other a week later. We just like, big hugs, you know what I'm saying? Just like, this is my guy. Like, we always gonna have a great time together. Like, that's just how the game designed us. Like, God put good people together. You know what I'm saying? And so that's how it was with Pac. We would always,
we uphold our baitness. Like two bait niggas get together. You could always tell the bait movements like, yeah, man, the way we talk and the whole woo-wop, like it's different. We different, I promise you. You know what I'm saying? And so that's how Pac was. Pac was definitely, they can say, oh, well, Pac is from the East Coast. That man, his heart was Bay Area. I don't give a fuck what nobody say.
Richmond?
Bay
Was it
Area
Richmond?
Marin, right?
City.
It was Marin, but all his homies was rich. A lot of his homies was Richmond, the Rowdy R.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They don't play at. They don't play.
Yeah.
They don't play in Richmond. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And all his homies was from there. A lot of them. So it's like, basically, man, Pac. It was always good energy. A lot of work ethic. He would always go in there. He'd knock out hella songs. That's why I love him. Just go in there and knock out hella verses. But Pac was a whole nother animal, boy. When he go into the studio, he finishing the song. He doing 3 verses, and it's gonna all make sense. It's gonna all be great content. It's gonna be great subject matters, and the spit gonna be ganged up. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be real, and it's gonna touch your heart. He gonna go in there and make 3 songs. Within an hour, he dang near leave out of there making 9 songs a day. And fully complete, like no going back to touch nothing up or nothing. You know what I'm saying? But you got to remember, it wasn't Pro Tools like that back then. It had just began, right?
Yeah, I was the one. I'm the man who put the piano behind Tupac Shakur, and I'm proud of that. Da-da-da-da. I Get Around. So Many Tears. Half his first album. I did all the piano parts on We Are the World. I wrote Who Write the Songs. No, I'm just playing. You really need to know who I am?
Satin on your panties. Never knew a hooker that
could share me. Pac said share. Pac wrote that lyric. Never knew a hooker that could share me.
I've seen him spit in police officer's face when there was nobody but us 3 on a dark street in Oakland. Pac almost got us killed in Richmond, Virginia. I know them brothers remember that time. They backed us out of this club, this after hours place in Richmond, Virginia, 4 in the morning. This one cat claimed Pac stepped on a shoe and they got into a little spat, and then it was like, I'm gonna see who got the juice, and said something disrespectful to Pac, and Pac started cursing him out. This whole club turned against us. All black, all ghetto. After Hours Lounge. 10 minutes later, we're taking pictures and everybody's walking us around. We're all spread out. It was 4 of us there. Me, Pac, Money B, and Sophia. And Pac challenged this cat, and it got ugly, and then Pac was like, yo, man, shot. We out. Yo, we got beef. We didn't even know what was going on until we walked over there. So we all got next to Pac, and they were backing us out of the club. Then they backed us out against the brick wall. And at the point that I was grabbing, holding Pac, trying to get him to shut up, still putting him in the cab, he was still challenging. It was like 40 or 50 cats that we were going to have to fight at one point because they were starting to build up out of the clap behind, Fuck them California niggas. Yo, T-Roy, I got you, cat. Yeah, that's you, Mike? Yeah, that's me. Shh. What? We'll send him back to Cali, right? And then more and more were ganging up. And Pac was like, what? How y'all gonna do that to me? I'm not scared of none of y'all. I'm not scared of none of y'all. Well, immediately. So being that we were so large, you could only expect people to play into it a little bit. This is my opportunity. This is my door. It was beyond that with Tupac. His loyalty went deeper than that. We were like family to him. We got him his first apartment. He had no credit. He couldn't drive. He had no driver's license. So we used to have to work the applications, and we would all pitch in and borrow a credit card and co-sign, and we did all the shit we had to do. We tried to teach him how to run his bank account and how to take care of his place.
Tell me about I Get Around. Tell me about that song. Tell me about that verse that he wrote.
I Get Around was the time I pulled Pac out of the party, and I said, yo, they got 2 more hits on you. They already had 2 in Oakland, now they got 2 in LA. 4 people are paid to kill you. Take it easy. Take my key, live in my condo while I'm on tour. Watch the Jeffersons. Relax. You know what Pac told me? He said, "You finish? You don't get it, do you? I don't give a fuck." And walked away. And before he got out of sight, he looked back one last time and went,
My guy.
so Pac was ready. He was ready. He knew he was done here. On to his next planet. On to his next adventure. Maybe he was reincarnated on Earth. Who knows? But Pac wasn't worried about death. He was not scared of death. Neither am I. I might go tonight. I might go tomorrow. I might live another 20 years. God don't bless me. But who knows? But Pac wasn't afraid of death, man. None of us should be. Stand for something, die for nothing. Stand for something better than dying for nothing.
Pac finally took that one little bit of consciousness that he took after being in the hospital 2 years after that final shooting. And he came to for a little bit, looked around the room, and he knew he was there, and he was listening. And when they told him, he was on machines and stuff, when they told him that, yo, that happened, and they had to take one of your lungs. And when he heard that, they said he just went, closed his eyes, and let go. He let go. He wasn't fighting to hold it no more. He let go. He just like, me, one lung, ain't gonna work. I can't be Pac with a cane and this and that. This wasn't how he operated, and it would have took the victory of all the things that he's done and said. And I think he known that it would have weakened his statement, and his statement was real, and he knew that. And I think he settled for what happened. He let what happened happen. He didn't know if it was going to be Vegas, but he kind of was asking for that. He's running to it. He just wanted to rest. He couldn't rest. Pac was tired, man. He was tired of living without man. You could tell. He was running. He was running to be loved, and you see this.
But yeah, man, no, I have way too much respect for Tupac. Way too much, man. He was a god, man.
Yes, sir, man. Yes, sir. Nas, I want to ask you this, man. I've always wanted to know this. I mean, so I have you in front of me, man. I feel bad. I know you got things to do, brother, but I'm just such a fan. We here, you know what I mean? I want to talk to you when I got you out here in LA, man. Let me ask you about Tupac. Is it true that you seen Tupac at the MTV Awards the couple of days before he died? Did you guys run into each other there, actually?
Yeah, we ran into each other.
What was that conversation about, and what was going on with, the whole thing, man? Maybe you can take me back to it.
Yo, you know what, man? I was thinking, think about it the other day, he must have been going through a whole lot, dog. You know what I'm saying? Because he saw me, and I saw him, and he had a bunch of people with him. I had a bunch of people with me. And it could have went either way, because at the time the tension was so high.
Yeah.
And I kind of felt like I was the New York dude at the time, So it was my duty to see what was going on. So I went to see what was going on, and he basically had, there was some issues with Mob, and at the time me and Mob were a lot tighter. And he had heard that I said things about him, and I heard he had this Machiavelli album coming out, and that he told me what he was saying. And he basically was like, me and you never supposed to go at it. Not us. It wasn't supposed to happen. It's just that things got misconstrued. So he's actually he was going to change all of that and come meet him in Vegas. And we were just in Vegas, and Jungle bumped into one of the Outlaws. And he was telling Jungle about, how the last thing Pac did wasn't his last message. Pac had more to do. He didn't want his last message to be what we hear.
Yeah.
So, and he remembers the time and remembers talking about the meeting and everything. So, yeah, man, I'm gonna put that in the book one day, children.
Yeah, that's right.
Children out there listening, we gonna put that in the book, man.
We're gonna pay some bills, come back more with Nas, man. When I come back, I want to ask you,
So how did you feel? A lot of people when Pac passed, and then you came to the scene. A lot of people compared you. They compared.
I wasn't there when he died.
No, they compared you. How did you feel to that comparison? Some people get offended. Some people.
I used to correct people as plainly as I could. They were like, "Oh, you like the next Pac?" I'm like, "No, I'm the first X." They would say that.
Great. That's great.
They would say that. They would say that. "Oh, you like the next Pac?" I'm like, "No, I'm not the next anything. I'm the first."
That's a fact.
I mean, and it's crazy because I actually had a chance to see Pac.
Oh, word.
Walking. He said,
I never met Pac.
He said, "Oh my God, it's on Hammond Way off Sunset in L.A."
Okay.
That hotel.
Okay.
And I saw him. He was a cool dude. Cool. He seemed cool.
Now, what year was this? You remember year?
I say like 96.
Oh wow! You met real Pac.
Yeah.
That's right before he died.
Walking by himself.
He died in 97, right?
Maybe 95. Maybe 95. Dre brought us out there. Dre flew us out to LA. And he walked past and I seen him. My man said, "What up?" And I'm like, "What up? What up?" Cool dude. You know, but I think and speaking as favorably as I can for someone who's passed, for someone who can't defend themselves.
Right.
I think part of the problem, a big part of the problem, was he didn't have what New York niggas got. Like, I'm from New York, this is my block, bam. He had no one, he didn't have his crew. So one thing, being a New York nigga, I know for a fact is you don't go to Cali and live there, right? Without like having the goon spots. Like, homie, you could be the hardest nigga in the world, but you don't go way over there without like no one ever knew where he was from. Where you from? Nobody ever knew.
But he was from Oakland, though. He lived in Oakland.
We lived all over the place. We all lived all over. But when you're from somewhere, you got niggas that grew up with you, that had your back, that loved you since you was in kindergarten. I mean, that fuck with you for real, and won't let never. And you, I need the extra set of eyes, so I keep my dog with me. Doctor said, "Let him die." Shit, his fucking dog bit me. Sometimes you need that nigga with you, that your man, that you know what? He'll see what you don't see.
Right.
It's easy to get caught up in this. It's easy to get caught up in this.
But greatness for me, and if you look up the word great, when you're great, you change the landscape. Now, by that definition, Pac is definitely great. Like I said, and technically, if I had to make a choice between who was the better rapper between Biggie and Pac, I would choose Biggie. But now, if you had to say who was the greater rapper, you would have to choose Pac, because his thing, it changed everything. You had that whole thug life movement. You had, it was more of a change in hip hop, in the diaspora of hip hop, and the dynamics of hip hop. In the dynamics of hip hop, than when Biggie did his album. He just did a hell of an album. Pac, like I said, was the greater rapper because he had a duality to his whole thing. He could talk street shit, and he could say slick shit, but he could say some other shit as well.
You take Tupac out there, who started out with Digital Underground and was on a funk trip, and then he started thug life and representing all the cats in the hood, and the music industry got to him, and fame and the whole thing, man. He ended up in the pen.
Well, Pac, to me, like I said, Digital Underground and Pac, we rolled them out on their first national tour, 1990. I remember Pac and Tretch, they broke in on the tour as rookies, carrying bags and, being roadies. That's what you had to do in your first year in. You didn't pop to be a superstar on the first, thing. So, Pac, earned his stripes like everybody else. And he always was smarter than everybody around him. Now, that's one public perception that I don't think got across, that he was smarter than everybody around him.
Radicalized people like Tupac. Now,
Adisa Benjoko, founder of Hip Hop Chess
That's my
Federation.
man.
That's right. Friend of Tupac.
Yes.
Tells a story about Tupac being at a Public Enemy show when right after he had been beaten up by the police.
Yeah.
When Tupacalypse Now came out, and you got wind of it, and you stopped the show in Oakland to dedicate a song to Tupac.
Yeah.
And this brought Tupac to tears.
Yeah.
Then Tupac wrote you a letter from jail that you shared on your social media.
Yeah.
Can you talk to me about what you were going through on that stage, and then talk to me about the feelings behind that letter and your correspondence with Tupac?
Well, that was easy because Tupac was like a little brother with us. He was a dude carrying bags for Digital Underground, but also Shock G would let him get a little rhyme time if they expanded the show out. Looking at these young dudes, 19 years old, I'm looking at them. We go to a city, and they rolling out together. I said, dudes, don't fuck up. We ain't gonna come to save your ass. Don't fuck up. I was like Uncle Chuck.
Right.
That's where the Uncle Chuck came from. I was always Uncle Chuck.
Right.
And I was like, dude, I'm watching both of y'all.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
One day, Pac could get that verse. He's on there doing like whatever, doing his thing.
Right.
Gets that verse. Later on, he did the same song a little bit later.
Right.
You know, he finally
Wanna
got
clown
his,
around,
got
wanna
his-
come around with the underground.
That was his
Where's
coming
the
out
clown?
party. I sent him a little note. I
Yeah.
said, "Oh, you big man now."
Okay.
And then Tretch had the whole Naughty by Nature next year. But it was a wonderful joy seeing them young men enjoying their coming out. You know what I'm saying? It's just like these guys are going to be stars, and they were buddies like that. So this is why when what happened to Pac, it really seriously affected Tretch.
That's right,
man. These
it did,
dudes
in
was
a big
like
way.
young rookies, man. So
Yeah.
they were rookies, and the next year they were kind of like
Superstars.
stars.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
that was a joy because I and whenever somebody says something about Pac, I think of Tretch. Whenever I
That's
think
right.
about Tretch, I think about Pac.
As it should be.
As it should be. It's
As it should
it's
be.
a beautiful moment
Yeah.
in me. So seeing that Pac had that little issue or whatever with the police, I'm on stage. So I'm like saying, what the fuck? That's Pac? Get your ass up here, bro. It was like one of those things. And we shut down the show. It was at Kaiser. And this is our little dude, man. This is our little brother, man. And there was a case one time, Oklahoma City. Dude busted in our dressing room and stole our shit. I mean, I stole 8, Uzis and whatever, and show shit. They found and closed the building, right? And they found the dude, but the dude kind of took him and hit him in that building in Oklahoma City, and was lying. Pac was back there. Pac had this dude yoked up and was like, listen. Pac, it's not that serious. Had the dude yoked up, I'll kill you. I was like, yo, he would have killed him, man. Really. I'm
Right.
like, calm down. But you looked at this dude, it's like, this dude is fire. It's like, and I'm the Uncle Chuck, like, listen, man, it's
Public Enemy. He was serious about Public Enemy, though.
serious. Yes, he was serious
Yeah,
about it.
man.
So, but I'm glad that Pac didn't kill this dude because we never would have heard about him. But
Right.
with who's hanging around you? So I sent him a letter like, dude, what the, yo, this is what you asked for, bro. I see you come from a puppy. Now you full grown, dog. Like, yeah, you got to hold it down for this whole rap craft thing as a leader, bro. I mean, my letter, I sent out the letter that Pac sent. They found that Pac sent to me. Y'all should have read my letter because my letter was, dude, what you looking for, bro? This is what you wanted, man. Don't hang around with a cat, man. They ain't got nothing to gain but offer you. You lead. You don't follow. So that's the letter that you see Tupac wrote was more like, it was on some Uncle Chuck shit. Because a lot of cats come at me and Ice-T like we triple OGs. It's, Uncle Ice, Uncle Chuck. And it's only done in love as saying we want the best for you.
Tell us how you met Tupac.
I met Pac actually on the Public Enemy tour. It was like 90. With Queen Latifah, I was out there. I was a roadie for her, performing with her. Digital Underground, he was out there doing the same. He was a roadie, performing with them, coming on stage. So when we linked up there, it was like that was the start of the whole thing. You know, it was like we was out there, we was road dogs. Every day we was together, hanging, little money we had, we was out getting a lot of little weed, you know what I mean? We was messing with the groupies. We was like superstars, our own little ghetto superstars, because we was, you know, nobody knew us, but we came on stage, freestyle, did our thing on our own separate shows, but it was the same tour. It was like experience we ain't never seen before. We was outside the hood. You know, we was out doing something. We was hustling in a legal way where we wasn't gonna get in no trouble for what we was doing. We was used to hustling on the streets. You know what I mean? So when we got out there, we seen a whole new life together from two different hoods and two different sets, but like the same type of homies with the same mindset, set out for the same things. You know. We was just talking about revolution through the music and through the movies and letting the truth be known. Whether he was going to do his own movies, he had a lot of stuff because, you know, he was a poet. He wrote poetry and everything. He wrote scripts for movies and all that type of stuff. You know what I mean? So he wanted to show the story through his talents and through the ways that he could get it out. You know what I mean? The movement is going to come not as so much as just starting up a certain crew or organization, but making a movement through the people for them to understand where you want to go. And through your music and through movies and through, you know, media and everything else, that's where you could get the message out there to the masses. And that's where he was a master at. You know what I mean? Getting the people's attention and getting the masses to want to sit and listen and find out what Tupac had on his mind and what Tupac wanted to say. If you knew Pac could not sit down long. The longest he was anywhere was if it was in the studio. That's the longest time he spent in a certain spot. And even if he in the studio, he'll go to the store and be right back and get a pack of cigarettes or, you know what I mean? Yo, somebody going to be on set. Fuck that, I gotta, you know what I mean? He just up, he was just a ball. You know what I mean? He just knew, like, there's so much he wanted to do and accomplish that he knew, and he knew that he could do it. If he put his mind to it, it was all in his mom's. Afeni, he loved her. You know what I mean? He used to always say stuff, man, listen, man, my Dukes taught me woo, 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 and woo, woo, and just be putting it down. You know what I mean? Like, yo, like, he was a soldier from here. You seen it was the upbringing. You seen it. You know what I mean? You seen he had the fire in his eye. If you seen Pac, man, you seen it in his eye. Some people had an eye of the tiger.
What can you tell us about working with Tupac? Any stories from that experience?
None, because Tupac wasn't there. But I'll tell you this.
They just sent you the record.
Now keep it 100, right? Because if y'all know, Pac was locked up, right?
Yeah.
When Pac came home, this is how 100 Death Row kept it with him. When Pac came home, whatever material Dog Pound had, Dre had, Snoop had, any of them had, they gave to Pac so he could do his album. So that's why when you listen to the album, California Love was supposed to be on Dre's album.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The one that I'm on with
Red
and Red, and that's supposed to be for the Dog Pound album. And Rage was in the spot that Pac was in. And Deck was on the record also. But by the time Pac got on it, you know, but when I met the brother later on down the line, it was at when all this East-West crap was going on, but it wasn't no East-West crap when Bad Boy and Death Row or whatever was going through their little shit. To make a long story longer, we on our way out. Lights come on at the end of the party. Party over. Lights come on. I'm blowed now. I'm like, shh. Feel a tap on my shoulder, turn around, it's Pac. Last I ain't seen this nigga all night. I ain't know he was even in there. I turn around, Pac there, he's like, yo, I wanna holler at, you know, anybody wanna fuck with this Wu-Tang next thing I know, cameras every fucking where. So while he's saying this, I remember something, an altercation happened with RZA in Vegas, something happened with the chain, and Pac was trying to tell me, you know, if I was there, that shit would have never happened, blah, 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 blah. And I remember looking up, and Suge was like this with the cigar in his mouth, looking down at me like, yeah. So I'm like, damn, I just want to play with this nigga. Why you looking at me crazy right now and shit, you know? So then I look at Pac, and Pac got a whole different face. His face looked like that picture before he died. That face he had. Oh, that look. He had that look on his face and shit. You know what I mean? And I remember looking back down, and I couldn't understand anything he was saying after that because mad shit was going through my head, and I'm looking at the Death Row piece on his chain. Then he was like, "Yeah, we gonna all meet up," and I was like, "Yeah, you know how men do it. We handle our business."
And then Pac, obviously, was from the town.
Sure.
Spent a tremendous amount of time up there in the Bay Area with us. And that was my little homeboy. So,
right.
So public facing it might have been new, but behind the scenes, we already all
had been
connected.
family.
Right.
Everybody was all connected.
And it was just work. It was song after song, recording after recording. It never stopped.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, man. I was in there with the arguably the most prolific artist in the history of hip hop.
Sure.
His ability to, Pac could do 7 songs in a day.
Insane.
And they be quality songs.
That's a gift, isn't it?
And he had that gift. And so, to be a part of that and to have him also, give me some beautiful jewels. He would come in, or I would come in sometime and they say, press the button. And I'd be like, what's happening? Pac came in early this morning and he did this song and he said he wants you to do this song. And I'd listen to the song and I'd be like, man, this is crazy. And it would be, like unconditional love.
Right.
And, if you listen or if I articulate that first verse, come listen to my truest thoughts, my truest feelings. All my peers are doing years behind all these killings. How many bodies must we witness before we see it's hard to live this life without God? So we must ask forgiveness. Ask mama why I got an urge to die and witness the tears flowing free from her eyes before she could reply. For we were all born without a silver spoon. My broken down TV shows cartoons in my living room. One day I hope to make it a player in this game. Mama, don't cry long as we try. Maybe things will change. Perhaps it's just a fantasy, a life where we don't need welfare and we share with our own families. Maybe it's me that caused it, the fighting and the hurting, in my room crying because I didn't want to be a burden. Watch my mama open up her arms and hug me, and I ain't worried about a damn thing because she still loved me. In this game, it's lessons for your eyes to see. Though things change, the future is still inside of me. We must remember that tomorrow comes after the dark, so you will always be in my heart with unconditional love.
My God.
Tupac wrote that and came and gave that to me and said, I need you to do this for me because our people need this.
Sure.
Damn.
And so that was the kind of things that was happening in the studio at that time. Rest in peace, Pac.
Absolutely. God, that's
What was the effect on Death Row when Tupac joined them? How did things change?
Things, in my opinion, changed. It was a little more friction to me, because Pac was adamant about his beliefs and adamant about things he felt and who he felt did wronged him and things of that nature. I don't know if everybody felt that way. Well, I'm going to speak for me. I can't speak for anybody else, but I didn't share those same thoughts. So he definitely was riled up about some people and wanted everybody to be riled up with him. Me and him didn't see eye to eye on that. And but he calmed down after a while, but I guess after a while it was too late because you know what happened. So, but he came in. He definitely was a burst of energy. He definitely lit things up. But as far as the other aspect, the beef part, I didn't like it. But it's his energy and his work ethic, the way he would get in the studio and just be in there all day, all night, and come out with like 10, 12 songs, and he just was like a machine. He could spit it out like that. So as far as his energy and that aspect was great. As far as the other thing, the beef, I wasn't feeling it.
And what's your most vivid memory of Tupac?
Well, my most vivid memory was me and him. We had an altercation, and we had a couple altercations. And after our altercations, I guess he saw that he couldn't sway me to go his way. So finally, he was going to do an album called A Nation of Millions, I believe it was. And he said, Rage, you going to be on my album? I said, no, I don't know, Pop. And he said, I got some East Coast motherfuckers on there. I got some East Coast motherfuckers on there. I ain't beefing. I said, all right, I'll do it. He's like, I got Buckshot Shorty, and I got somebody else on there. And so, and his smile, the way he, when he was adamant about something, and he threw that smile on you. So that's his smile, and our last conversation was one of the most vivid memories I have.
Now, when you met him and started working with him, did you have any idea that maybe perhaps this would be a person who would be considered the greatest rapper of all time, one of the greatest rappers of all time?
No, because when I first met him, I met him in New York when I lived in New York, and I said something smart to him like, I'm better than you or something. I wasn't even discovered at that point, but I just carried myself like that way, and I said, yeah, I'm better than you. He's like, yeah, you better than me? I said, yeah. So I never thought that he would be as great as he is. I mean, anybody you hang around, I don't think you look at them in that way because you're with them all the time and you don't see them the way everybody else sees them. The world sees them. So I never had a clue. I knew he was like a street poet. He definitely was connected with the streets and spoke for the streets. So yeah, he's great in his own right.
And I think this was before that actual year, probably the first one or the second one. And Pac was on, he was on that award show. Tribe had got the award for Best Hip Hop Group of the Year. I don't know if Pac's people at the time knew that Tribe was still getting their award and doing their acceptance speech, but he pressed play while they was doing their acceptance speech. So it looked like Pac just went out there and started performing on some fuck they award shit. I'm just gonna do my shit on top of them niggas, whatever. So it looked crazy from the front because it was like, these niggas is in the middle of their acceptance speech and then your shit just come on and you just come out there and bogart they shit. And it just looked like a crazy disrespect to Tribe. So the beef started immediately. And fortunately, it didn't get to no physical shit, but, you know, I don't know if too many people knew about this at the time when it went down or even after, that it was a big misunderstanding. Because the whole world knows of what my history and my relationship is with Tribe. Me and Pac had a conversation about that. And Pac made it clear to me that he didn't mean to do that. That wasn't his fault, and he don't understand why or how it happened that way. But you know how it go. Your music start rolling, you going to do what you're supposed to do. And rightfully so, he is supposed to go out there if he hears shit and start rocking. Pac actually was trying to see how could we coordinate getting a public truce going on BET. At the time, it was like Rap City was still on the air and Tigger was still doing that shit. I was actually trying to coordinate that. And, you know, I was communicating to Tip via Pac and Pac via Tip, and the vibe was amazing. Like, everybody was like, yo, no doubt, no problem. Misunderstanding, fuck it, let's let the world see it. And it never happened. So it just didn't happen because of circumstances, obviously. And, you know, Pac passed before it got to happen. But even before it got to the point where Pac, you know, encountered his untimely demise, you know, I think not too long after, you know, Pac was going to Atlanta during Freaknik time, and he had just got one of them old 6'4" shits done up. So he was telling me how he was going to ship his shit down there and go down there and fuck around and have some fun and come back. Pac comes back to me finding out he popped the off-duty police officer. So I'm talking to him about this shit in his crib, in his apartment, and you know, that was just the type of dude Pac was. Like, even though he seemed to be presented as a reckless, loose cannon a lot of the times, that wasn't the case. You know what I'm saying? Like, even in that situation, Pac didn't know dude was a police officer. He just knew, you know, these white dudes was jumping on this black dude, and you know, Pac is about his people. You know, that was just what Pac was. He was really about that respect shit, and you know, you gotta love him for it. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a million stories like that I could get into for days, man.
Hey.
Let me ask you, man, out of all the MCs you work with, which ones you think like you had the best experience with? Who do you think were the sickest, like the dopest?
Wow.
In your opinion.
I'd have to say Tupac.
Pac.
When
did y'all first? What was the first project y'all worked on?
We did Definition of a Thug.
Definition of a Thug.
And then we actually I think me and him and Breed did You Gotta Get Yours, I Gotta Get Mine. I think that was before Definition of a Thug, but
it was just the way he worked, man. He was just dope, you know. And we, you know, we had a talk when he called me to come do Definition of a Thug. I didn't believe it was him calling me, and so when I finally said, "All right, I'm gonna go," I packed up my MPC, my turntable, my crate of records, and my 4.5.
Your 4.5.
Yeah, I went to Back then,
When you say 45, you mean a small disc record, like the 45, the vinyl,
the Blammer.
The Blammer. Oh, okay. I just wanted clarification on that, Warren.
Yeah, I mean, that was you know, I was wild not thinking, but I went up to Echo Sound and walked in, and it was him, and he was just like, "You did Endo Smoke for Poetic Justice. I need a beat for Poetic Justice also." So we just talked and stuff. I told him about a lot of stuff I was going through, and you know, and just you know the state I was in right at that time, and he just started writing down for about maybe 15 minutes. Went in the booth and just started busting, and you know some of the stuff he said in there, I was like, damn, I just said that to him, and he put it in a song right there, boom, and then and he said, "My definition of a thug, nigga," right after that. And he was like, "Okay, put some scratches and all that in there." I was like, "Okay." So I just was thinking about what could I put in there that'll go gangster with that. And I was like, it was that, I think Roxanne Shante, that "'Tis the season to be serving." You know, like, so I added a bunch of stuff in there. But he was dope, man.
Did everybody got a Pac story? Everybody got a Pac story. What's yours?
Oh man, I have so many.
Tell us a good one.
I remember
that we haven't heard already.
I remember when he first got home, Dad called me and said Pac's home. And I was like, oh, he is. And this is what lets me know the influence of New York, because he came, when I went to the studio to see him, first thing he said when he saw me was Corrupt. And he just said, New York. Man, that saved my life in the joint. He said, that's all I would listen to was New York. Forget these people. I was like, oh, man, okay, all right. So he said that was his inspiration, the fire. He was so mad. Then right after that, I told him, Pop, I'm rolling with you. Treat me like I'm one of your outlaws. You know what I'm saying? If there's any time you see me out of pocket, let me know. Tap me on that shoulder. Tell me to chill. I listen to you like that. He said, I got you. And we go to Cabo, and I was out of pocket, beating my Hennessy bottle on the table because it was the Danny Boy video shoot, I think it was. And we really didn't like that Danny Boy at that time. We was about Nate Dogg. Danny Boy was a singer. That's who's on I Ain't Mad at You. And he said, stop beating on the... He told me to stop hitting my Hennessy bottle on the chair. I'm like, who you talking to? You know what I'm saying? You new around here, man. Don't talk to me. Of course I was hammered. Oh, man, he got so mad.
I heard about that.
What? No. I'll take you upstairs right now, whoop your ass, and bring you back downstairs and we smoke a blunt. I said, oh, man, this boy's nuts. Nate come over. I don't know why people think people gonna fight and still be friends. Here come Daz. I'll fight you now. Come on over here. Come on over here, cuz. Pac said, oh man, I can't go nowhere without my outlaw. And he just stopped off. I said, oh my God, I can't lie though, my heart was really racing. Cause he's a wild cat.
Well, basically, you get in the studio, and Tupac taught us because he felt that we was wasting studio time because we be in the studio smoking, chilling, and out of a day we would do like one record, and Tupac was offended. He was like, "What are y'all doing? What's going on? Are y'all post?
You know what I'm saying? And he'd be like, man, look, boop, bop, bop. He done knocked down 7 records. We over here with 1 record for an entire day. And Pac was just like, he stepped our recording game up. He stepped our entire
So he
process.
made you start. So your process became different because you saw a guy that pushed you and let you know what was acceptable and not.
And that's what he did. You know, he would come into our studio sessions and he would just come in and be like, what y'all doing? How many records y'all did today? Well, what do you mean? I'm working on the record right now. No, you're not. You're laying on the couch with this girl. Oh, man, I'm just chilling. Chilling? This is a studio session.
Right.
You know, you got to pay this money back. No. And he would just stay on our heels about it to enhance us.
Did you?
So Brenda's Got a Baby. How did you get the lead role for that video?
Well, I was chosen for the lead. Tupac already knew that he wanted me to do the video because, like I said, he was friends with my brothers and them, and they, hung around each other and did things with each other. My brothers and them traveled with him and things like that. So the story was told to me that when he read the article of of Brenda, the story of Brenda, the article, he told my brother he was going to ask me to play in the video. And that one day your sister's gonna be really famous off of this song I'm writing. Because originally I don't believe that song was on the list to be on part of his album. He had changed and took one of the songs off and put another song in. I think it was Brenda Got a Baby, because he had already finished up his album supposedly. And I believe that was told to me that he changed it up and said, I want to write this article. Look at this article, you guys. I'm gonna write a song about this. And I thought that was nice, to change up, because he, Trap. I like this song Trap. And Tupac was coming around with his music, trying to enlighten what was going on in the hood. Things that you wasn't talking about. Everybody talked about, dope dealing and getting a nice car, and he was thinking about really what's going on in the hood, the core of the hood, what people wasn't talking about. You're not talking about how the young man was trapped and how us young men now still to this day still feel trapped and getting chose and looked at as you're a thug, you're a criminal. We can't have them come walk down the block because the neighborhood we came from, it was a drug neighborhood, you know what I'm saying? So you would get picked on when you could have been a good student. Or like Tupac, he was quiet. He didn't really say nothing. He was just walking around with the kids. You would get picked on in the neighborhoods by the police, and it's still happening to this day. And that what made Tupac stand out when he did come to me and ask me about the video.
So like, as far as the death row, as far as working with Tupac, man, how was it working with Pac, dude? I don't even think I ever seen him in person, because he was banned in Texas, I think, or something, or Houston, because he never came to Houston.
Yeah.
I can't think of one time I seen Pac.
He probably been there and nobody knew it.
Damn.
I go places. You know what I mean?
Unbelievable, dude. So how many songs did you end up producing for Pac? Or
I produced at least about 40 of them. I ain't heard but a couple of them. But, before then, we used to hang with Pac before he got on death row. You know what I'm saying? And that's when he had Juice out.
Right.
And he came over, him and Bree, with the Juice on Laserdisc.
Damn.
You know how big that motherfucker was, you know what I'm saying?
Damn.
We popped that motherfucker in and watched Juice, and laughing and smoking, and then I had called him to do Hard on a Nigga.
Damn.
For the Murder Was a Case soundtrack, and we never used it, but we paid him for it like $30,000. If you look in that movie, on the Tupac movie, when Suge come in there and give him that money, that's what that money was for.
Wow.
And that's what before he was on death row.
Damn.
You know what I'm saying? And then when he came to death row, I had just made like 5 beats, you know what I'm saying?
You did Ambitions.
Ambitious of a Rider. I Ain't Mad at
Two
You.
of America's Most
Wanted.
Wanted.
Scandalous.
And I Ain't Mad at You too.
Yep. And then Scandalous. DJ Quick helped me with that one too.
What was it like working with Pac? Like people always, because we were had this conversation off air, and we was like, what 25-year-old, 24 and 25-year-old put that much work together?
Yeah.
Because at that time, Dad, you think I'm going to live forever. I got time, I'm partying, I got this, I got that. What was his work ethic like that you saw?
Every morning, we live next door. He smell it. You know what I'm saying? So he come over there, get the beats. He hear it banging because there was an apartment, Snoop apartment right here, and Tupac apartment was right here, and it was next door. So you would always hear the music. You know what I'm saying? So he would come over early in the morning because I always tell him, early bird get the beats.
Hey.
So he would always come over there and get them. Man, we did a lot of songs that I never even heard that they probably still got over there.
I asked Billy when he'd lost touch with Tupac.
76, 77.
How old was he then?
He was about 6, 5. He was born in 71.
And then he went off, what, to California?
Went to Baltimore. He went to California. He moved around New York several times. And so...
Why did they move so often?
Well, she was on crack. She was on drugs. She did drugs at the time. And one time he was living in shelters. So Pac really had a bad life.
So how long was Afeni on crack?
Oh, I don't know, for a long time, but to the point where Tupac had left the house, and he would tell me some stories that I don't really want to get into, that occurred around his house, that things happened, but he wasn't like the favorite son that everyone's pretending that he is now. Matter of fact, he told me some stuff that made me laugh, that they would make fun of him because he was somewhat of a handsome guy, and everybody else was kind of, let's say, dark-skinned. And he was somewhat brown and light-skinned, and they would call him ugly. And he told me that, and he also said that only lasted until he became a star, and then he became the favorite son. He was shot in various spots all over his body, growing, arm. But they had said that he had his testicles shot up. And the first time I went to visit him after that, he made it a point to show me that he did not have his testicles shot off, and then he went like that, and of course, I knew he was my son.
Oh, really? You want to?
I don't want to. No. I don't want to touch on that.
Did you say that Biggie visited him at the hospital when you?
Yes, he did, and he introduced himself to me. I thought it was quite nice. He didn't seem like he had anything to do with what had just happened. I didn't think anything of it at the time. But he just approached me and said that he was Biggie, and I hear you're Tupac's father, and anything I could do to help in the situation, please let me know.
It cost me $200. I got a speeding ticket. I couldn't wait to get up to prison to see my son for the first time. Again, to talk to him consciously. But they were very hard, because I knew that my son, at 3 o'clock every day, would be put in a cage, 6 by 9. And to know that a part of you, is locked in a prison cell for something that he did not do was a very hardened experience, and it really bothered me. He kind of felt that he come back out and put on paper what he had been putting on paper, because that was more of a spirit thing that came from a drive that allowed him to do that. Well, being locked up and having your spirit locked up also can take away from that creativity. The last time I saw my son Tupac was in a hospital bed in Las Vegas, Nevada. I had just gotten off the plane, and after I greeted everybody in the emergency room, and when I walked through the doors, I saw something that resembled my son, but really didn't look like my son the last time I saw him. The respiratory and gadgets hooked up to his ear, his nose, his eyes, his testicles, his toes. Metal zippers up and down his body from when surgery had been taken as part of his body out. So you would have half-hour visits, so you would just sit there, and the doctor said that he could possibly hear you and that you could talk to him, but he just cannot answer. So that's what I did. I would sit in the hospital room and talk to my son and put chapstick on his lips because the respirator made it very chapped.
I would
describe Tupac as an extraordinary human being who was actually quite ordinary. But he was extraordinary in that he felt other people, especially, I think, young people, he felt them maybe a little bit more than the ordinary person. And he could express the feeling of other people for them. So I think that when people, for instance, listen to Tupac's music, they always feel that he said something that, God, I wish I had said it, or I want to say that. That's how I feel, you know. So I would just describe him as an extraordinary human being who was very ordinary. He was my son, and so I knew him and loved him as a human being, as a son, as a mother would a son. He was a good son, a good guy, but he was human, a human person. And I think that the beauty of him was in his humanness.